And since I'm talking about Armbrecht Awards, it's very appropriate that I mention that last year and the year before, we gave Armbrecht Awards to a gentleman named Jack Collette and Rachel Wood. They were the two key people that built off of what Jack Cairns had been building with others and a lot of other things, and deserved the award, which led to the Smithsonian Project, the Collette Center, if you notice the words. So we have two of the pieces. The piece that's missing is something that serendipitously we are able to do in the last 24 hours, is we've moved up our schedule for the 2025 Armbrecht Award winner. Because if you listen to the history, as a lot of people tell it, back in the early 90s, the businesses in Delaware were not happy with math and science education in Delaware. And they were working with somebody who was then governor, who was not happy either. And they started a lot of things in motion, which led to state standards for science, for looking at how to go from books to hands-on inquiry-based. And the person who catalyzed that, the advocate who pushed it all the way through and kept it going so that the Smithsonian Project was a success it was, moving Delaware from 39th in the nation to 17th in only 7 years, was a Governor Tom Carper. We'd like, Tom, would you please join us up here? Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're going to get a lunch later on. Like
My name's misspelled here.
Oh,
No, I'm kidding. There's a mistake here. I shouldn't be receiving this.
no, but you were the advocate from the government side. You got business working together with government, with the educators, and look, it happened.
Whew, well,
You made it happen, so you got to say something. I know you will.
Undeserved, but not unappreciated. Thank you so much. First of all, to those who are being recognized here who really have earned the distinction, and our thanks and praise. Thank you for what you do with your lives. I knew what I wanted to do when as a kid. I knew from the third grade, and I had never changed my mind. Third base for the Detroit Tigers. You think I'm kidding? And they let me throw the opening pitch at Tiger Stadium. The last game they played at Tiger Stadium, and in front of 50,000 people, I threw a strike. And the only other thing that I've actually succeeds that in terms of joy and is receiving this award. No, well, that makes it true. All right. How many have ever been here before? How many is this anybody here the first time? I was elected state treasurer. I was 29. I'd been a naval flight officer, Vietnam veteran. I'm a retired Navy captain, the last Vietnam veteran serving in the U.S. Senate. The first time I came in here, I was a 29-year-old state treasurer. I'd been elected. I could barely spell cash management. And the guy was a new governor was a guy named Pete DuPont, who's like the scion of the DuPont family, one of the richest guys in the world. Republican, I'm Democrat, but we bonded. And I remember being in this room, sitting like where you are, and watching Pete DuPont standing right back here, right back there in the fireplace, and about some of the issues that we're discussing here tonight. He believed, and he was a great mentor for me, but he believed that it's important that there's it's not an African problem, but it's a great problem. It's give a person a fish, you feed them for a day. Teach a person to fish, they can feed themselves for a lifetime. And the other thing, too, is to look at our planet and see what can we do to make this planet a better planet to live on. I chair the committee in the Senate on Environment and Public Works. We work a lot on issues involving climate change, recycling, and you name it. Our planet's on fire, and the question is, what are we going to do about it? My concern is we'll see how the elections figure out here, but we've made a lot of progress in the last couple of years in terms of addressing climate change, and we can't stop. We can't turn back now. We can't turn back now. And the work that you're doing is actually critically important. I'll close with this. The night in the United States Senate where we passed the Inflation Reduction Act, which has all kinds of clean energy provisions in it, and it's an amazing piece of legislation. And also, I helped write that, and I helped write the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which has a lot of clean energy provisions in it as well. But anyway, we were up all night, and we finished at about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and passed it by one vote. The presiding officer was Kamala Harris, and she had to come onto the floor in order to cast the tie-breaking vote for us to pass 50 to 49, or what has become one of the keystone pieces of legislation to help us address climate change. And she was sitting up there, and when the place went crazy, people hugging, crying, and because they knew how momentous the moment was. And I stood out. I've known her for quite a while. I stood out. People are going, just celebrating, and she's just letting them go. She's a presiding officer. Normally, you rack your gavel and get people to be quiet and settle down. She didn't. She just let them go. And I said, Madam President, when you're the presiding officer, you're the president. She said, Madam President. She said, yes, Senator Carper. And I said, this would have never happened without you. And she said, this would have never happened without you. So I feel proud to have had the opportunity to play a modest role in that regard. And I'll close with this. I left the next morning on the 6 o'clock train. We finished up, and I got on the train and headed home, and got off. And we live in North Wilmington, and it was about 6:30, and I like Wawa. And I don't know if you've ever been to Wawa before. I like Wawa. And I went to Wawa, and I said, I'm going to get a cup of coffee and just kind of celebrate. And I walked in and got myself a cup of coffee and was about to pay for it. And the lady who's the cashier, she said, your money's no good for a small cup of coffee here. And I said, could I get a bigger cup of coffee? And she said, no, your money's no good for a small cup of coffee. And so I took my small cup of coffee. But before I left, she said these words. I'll never forget them. I'll leave them with you. She said, I have a son and a daughter. She said, I want to make sure they're going to have a planet to grow up on and a planet to grow old on. And I said, I want to make sure they do as well. But I also want to make sure they have good jobs so that they can support themselves and their families. And the folks who think we can't actually look out for this planet and make sure our kids and grandchildren are going to have a planet to grow up on and grow old on, we could actually do that to what's right for our planet that God has given us, and to make sure people have jobs that they can support themselves and have a good life. You're a big part of that. And with those that are being recognized tonight, God bless you. You're doing the Lord's work. Thank you so much. Thank you. People have been we've been down all over the state today. Today's Returns Day, which is a great Delaware tradition, as you might know. But people are so kind. Everywhere I go, people are kind to me. And this is just one more demonstration of that. If I'd known people were going to be this nice to me, I would have quit a lot sooner. Not really, but don't tell my wife I said that. Y'all take care. God bless you. Thanks so much.
Thank you. You're taking back to your chair.